This is Whataburger Friday Night Stars, presented by Game On Sports, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the Dallas Cowboys Headquarters. Here's Kyle Yeomans, Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiafalo, and Heckma Harrison.
Week number 8 of the Texas high school football season, show number 8, overtime number 8, here from Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We're live from the Star in Frisco. Everybody, thank you for joining us as we continue our coverage of Texas high school football in the North Texas area. Kyle Yeomans here alongside Heckma Harrison, Zach Wolchuk, and Eric Chiafalo. Guys, we've got a lot to get to because we have had so much going on throughout the entire area of Texas high school football. Guys, let's start things off with the Colony and Frisco Lone Star. These are two 5-1 teams inside the 5A District 1 or District Division 1. We thought there was no chance that the Colony could really pull this game off, correct? Maybe, not so much. 21-14, the final score. Frisco Lone Star shut down, and the Colony gets the job done. We've got Jackson Donovan on the phone. Jackson was at this ball game from Toyota Stadium, and we get some highlights as we talk to Jackson. But Jackson, first off, that defense from Lone Star, we looked at it going in and said, hey, this is one of the best teams defensively in the entire 5A ranks, but nonetheless, the Colony was able to put up 21 points on them. How was that possible?
It was a little bit of a shock to me that they were able to pull off the 21 points. However, they were sound defensively all night long. They never gave up too many big games. They had the one long touchdown to end the game to end up giving up the game winner. But other than that, the only thing that the Colony was able to get is a couple dink and dunks. Before that, I think their longest play of the game was maybe 15 yards.
Jackson, how impressive was Miles Price? We talked about him coming into the game offensively for the Colony. He's kind of their do-it-all guy, rushing and receiving, and he did it mostly on the ground tonight with 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. How impressive was he going up against that Studley Lone Star defense?
Miles Price was absolutely the game changer in this one. Jaden Abdallah was the leading rusher for the Colony coming into this game. He went down and kind of struggled early in this game. He went down with an apparent right knee injury, and Miles Price stepped in and took over the reins, never missed a beat, and he was the reason the Colony was able to pull this one out.
Jackson, Zach Wolchuk with you. I'd like to talk about the Colony defense in this one. We know that Frisco Lone Star struggled a little bit, but forcing Julian Larry into a couple interceptions. Well, what did the Colony defense do to give them so many problems?
It started up with the front four. Julian Larry was under pressure all night long. The defensive line for the Colony never gave him a moment to breathe. He was scrambling all night long. In fact, it even changed the game plan for Lone Star moving into the second half. They had a lot more designed quarterback runs instead of having Julian Larry try to find a receiver on a 10-yard out or a post. They didn't have time for him to take a step back, do a 3-step or 4-step drop, and try and find a receiver. So they had to completely change their game plan in the second half, and that was all because of the Colony's front four.
Yeah, definitely so. A big-time win for the Colony at Toyota Stadium. Jackson, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, big win for the Colony as they defeat Frisco Lone Star. One that we didn't necessarily think about, but overall, the Colony gets it done nonetheless. So with that being said, a game that we might have expected this outcome, Allen and Jesuit. Allen 43, Jesuit 14. Another dominant performance from the number 1 team in the state of Texas. We've got Ashley Pickle, hardest working woman in sports, on the line. And Ashley, another rainy day, but you didn't get any delays to work with. However, it was a blowout of a game, and Allen took care of business.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. So it did kind of quit raining actually in the third quarter. So I got to take my hood off, and man, it was like I was living the high life.
There you go.
But no, I mean, I was actually kind of impressed with Jesuit how they came out in the second half. They got an early touchdown thanks to E.J. Smith. He got another one in the third quarter. So, you know, after the first quarter, very impressed. Score tied 0-0. Absolute lockdown defense from that front line for Jesuit's defense. It was very impressive. And then going into the second, then Allen's up 23-0 at half. So you're thinking, okay, this one's really going to get away from them. But Jesuit put up a pretty good fight there in the third and fourth, and obviously came out short. But at least got a little bit exciting there towards the end.
Ashley, how long into the game did the starters play for Allen, talking about Tisdale and Weiss and some of those guys offensively in particular? Did they play most of the second half, or did they pull them early?
They played most of the second half, ended up pulling them in the fourth, so they made it most of the way out. But, yeah, no, they pulled them in the fourth. Probably a smart decision on their play.
Hey, Ashley, this is Heckma. Thank you again for working so hard for us. You know we appreciate you.
Heckma's my favorite. I like him.
Say it again. Say it again, Ashley.
Heckma is my favorite.
It is. Hey, I gotta ask you, Ashley, the defense for Allen doesn't get enough recognition, but you can tell just by looking at the stat sheet that these guys played lights out. Talk about their performance tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I said that last week, especially with the Plano West game being more of a competitive matchup between the two teams than tonight was. But their defense is it's phenomenal. They've got a fantastic defensive line that never fails to put pressure on the quarterback. Actually, the Jesuit quarterback was hurt in the second quarter, Kevin Schumann, and never came back into the game. So they put a lot of pressure on him, had an unbelievable sack that turned into an interception there at the late part of the second quarter. So they are all over that backfield. They do a phenomenal job stopping the run, and then very good sized defensive backs as well to really stop any big pass plays. You never really see a long pass play scored against Allen.
Ashley Pickle from Allen and Jesuit. Thanks so much for joining us again, Ashley. Great work as always, and we'll talk to you again 2 weeks from now, because guess what? She's on the North Texas football homecoming court.
How about that?
For the University of North Texas.
Way to go.
Well, enjoy that, Pickle.
Hashtag
congratulations.
Hashtag vote Pickle. Congratulations. We're cheering for you for homecoming court. She does have duties next week, so we don't have Pickle next week, unfortunately.
What are we gonna do?
But
We're in a pickle.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
we're in a little bit of a pickle in that regard. But
Jeez.
she's outstanding. I think she's already off the line. But overall, Pickle's going to be a great asset to this team moving forward, but not next week, unfortunately. But she is going to be doing some pretty important stuff. Now, with that being said, Pickle's still not the star of the night, unfortunately, even though she is on the homecoming court for North Texas. Caden Davis again.
Unbelievable.
Again.
He did it again.
Down 23-21. Let's take a look at this. This is on the fan tag cam off of Twitter. A Marauder fan from Flower Mound Marcus decided to tweet out this footage, and we're going to take advantage of it while we can from the public domain. And if we can get this thing to start up, maybe we can play this. There it goes. Kick from 51 yards out to win it, just barely squeaking inside the uprights. That was when they were down 23-21, winning it over Flower Mound Marcus, 24-23 final score. Caden Davis does it again. We've got one of the public address announcers from that game. Marcus Allen is on the line. Marcus, first off, thank you so much for joining us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We're glad to have you. And just kind of describe the atmosphere when Caden Davis kicked that thing through the uprights.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me. I tell you what, when we were down, when they missed an extra point earlier in the game, I told our guys in the booth, I said, man, we are set up for a dramatic finish. And sure enough, with 37 seconds remaining to go in the game, Caden Davis lines up for a 51-yarder, and just like he does in his sleep probably, he put it through there.
Yeah, how confidence building is that? Like, as a fan, you're just watching Coppell football, and we got Caden Davis coming out here. Did you just know he's Mr. Automatic?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And, and not to rain on his parade, he missed a 53-yard earlier in the game, but just barely. And so, it's just wide left. But anytime we get on the plus side of the 50, we think we're in his range, so.
What a stud, Caden Davis. He makes them when it counts, though, right? So that's all that matters. But I want to ask you about Jonathan McGill. We talked to him about him tonight. Actually, Zach, it was his player to watch. We know he just committed to SMU, but what is it like? You get to watch him on a pretty regular basis, and he had a 34-yard touchdown pass in the fourth quarter that propelled them to a nice fourth quarter and obviously the comeback victory. Talk to us about Jonathan McGill, just offensively and defensively, how dynamic he is and what a joy he is to watch.
Yes, Jonathan McGill, he's a special player. So I've been doing the PA for Coppell for this is my 8th season, and he has been a player on varsity since his sophomore year. And by player, I mean he's been on the field making plays since his sophomore year. But he's truly a special kid, a good leader, a tremendous leader on the team, and it's fun to watch. It's really fun to watch. He makes plays on offense. He makes plays on defense. He makes plays on special teams. Really fun to watch.
There he is, Marcus Allen, PA announcer for the Coppell Cowboys. Marcus, thanks so much again for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon, man.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
All righty, there he goes. Another great game, and the Cardiac Cowboys all over it again. And, man, Caden Davis, the legend grows.
Something special, man.
I don't believe he missed a field goal. I'm just
we just look over that one.
Yeah, we look
definitely overlook that one.
Yeah.
53 yards.
53 yards. That's a chip shot. There's no way he missed that.
No big deal.
High schooler. Look at us with disappointment.
Well, the best part about that is it's 53 yards. He misses it, and everyone in the stands is surprised. Like, what?
52 yards, game on the line.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Money.
Yeah, money. And you know who else was money? And, guys, I think we're going to take a step back. Eric, Heckma, and myself. We're going to give the spotlight and the floor to Mr. Zach Wolchuk, Plano High graduate, Plano High alum, Plano High enthusiast.
Most of
you guys get the win, and we've got Kelton Reed on the phone right now here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Kelton, thanks so much for joining us. I'm not even going to ask a question because I'm going to let Zach Wolchuk take things over and really drive the bus for the next couple of minutes.
Kelton, how are you feeling, my man?
I am pretty – words don't describe it right now. This was a huge, huge win for us tonight, and I'm just glad we're on the winning side of it.
I'll tell you what, brother, we were talking about this Plano East matchup, and the four of us here at the table, including myself, I'm going to be 100% honest, really did not give our Plano Wildcats a ton of credit coming into this one tonight. And the season series, it's really tight. Plano now 19-17-1. Your secondary, man, you went out there and played really well, at least from our perspective, looking at the statistics here. Talk about what it was like against Brandon Mallory and that explosive East offense. What did you guys see on tape that you were able to take advantage of defensively?
I mean, big things that we saw that they like to take shots deep down the field. We developed a scheme this week to pretty much make sure we had saw everything in front of us, make sure they were having to check down. We were okay with them hitting slants and hitches, little 10, 8-yard routes, things like that. We didn't want them to be able to take a big shot down on us tonight. And we were able to counteract those deep shots with making a play on the ball tonight, and I gave all the credit to my DBs tonight for that.
Looking to the offensive side of the ball, coming into the game, we said if Plano's going to do anything offensively, they got to get it to Kyron Cumbie. Obviously, we know Plano East and their defense knew that, but Cumbie went off and had a great night. What were they doing offensively that were able to get him the ball? Because everybody knew he was the guy getting it.
I mean, like you said, everybody knows that Kyron's going to be getting the ball, and he's just a talented player. But I feel like we had a few good key blocks by our receivers outside and by our linemen to really just bring him open. And one thing I kind of noticed was we kind of slowed the tempo down a little bit to kind of eat the clock away, keep their potent offense off of the field. And when you're able to move the ball and kill the clock at the same time and get points, it's going to be a beautiful thing for you.
Kellen, before we let you go, man, I just got to say again, congratulations. We are city champions yet again. Big wins over West, big wins over East. We know y'all have been a program that we've kind of struggled a little bit this year. This is a big win, a game that a lot of people didn't think Plano would get. Confidence-wise, moving forward, the rest of the way, big games against Jesuit, against Boyd. Do you think that you guys, Plano, can propel this into a run here to end the year, stack some wins to try and claim that fourth and final playoff spot in district?
I mean, I don't see why not. We have the talent, we have the kids to definitely do it. We just have to start believing in ourselves, know we're capable of playing, and kind of set an expectation level for ourselves and know that you got to come out every week like this and put it all together in all three phases of the game. And when you're able to do that, good things happen for you. So, yeah.
Kelton Reed, defensive back coach for the victorious Plano Wildcats. Kelton, congratulations. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me, and it feels good tonight, fellas. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We know that's going to be a fun town to be in, at least on the Plano side of things.
Central side of things, no doubt about it.
Not on the
Huge
East.
Win. Huge win.
Yeah, I love that when you talk to coaches, man, they really kind of examine the whole game and tell you, like, hey, we were good in every facet of the game. And obviously that's what Plano has, and they need to do that week in and week out. But we all know who has their number.
Allen?
McKinney.
Oh, geez, yeah, McKinney does.
Why you got to be a damper on things?
Because did you see the love fest he just had right there? I had to bring him back.
These guys just got to bring it down. Look, next week's a tough game. They got Jesuit at home. We'll see what happens there. With Kevin Schumann's out, that helps Plano's chances. But huge win for Plano. I mean, they deserve this one tonight. No matter what's happened this year. It's been a rough year for the Plano Wildcats. I mean, we didn't even think that this game would play out the way it did. But 41-19. Congratulations, Plano. You earned this one tonight. I'm proud of y'all.
Yeah, they definitely did earn it. An outstanding win for the Plano Wildcats as they continue to try and rebound from that. No, I'm not going to go back into the McKinney loss. Let's go down some of these other games that we've talked about already, but we want to hit again. We're going to skip the TAPS level for now because we have Nick Laupius calling in here in just a moment. But Frisco Reedy and Denton Braswell. Frisco Reedy overall, a team that's been so dominant at the level so far, at the 5A level. But, man, they do it again tonight. 40-14 over Denton Braswell. Not very surprising, but it was dominant. You look at the rushing yards for Braswell overall.
Yeah, for Braswell, it just wasn't their kind of night. And when you're down that much early on, you really can't utilize your run game. You've got to go ahead and try and make plays happen over the top. They really had one that worked all night early in the football game, and then they got an 85-yard kickoff return for a touchdown late in that fourth quarter to give them their other score. But Reedy, I mean, they're doing it on every single aspect of the field. Offense, defense, their special teams is playing well. Their field goal kicking is outstanding. Reedy 8-0, 7-0 in district.
You got to say his name again. Your guy, Foskey.
Foskey.
Josh Foskey.
Got it done.
It's time we started recognizing him and this Frisco Reedy team as one of the powerhouses this year in Texas high school football. I don't think Foskey did much in the second half because he didn't have to. Pedestrian stat line for him, 253 yards and a couple of touchdown passes. Michael Ferrara, your Italian brother, Mr. Chiafalo.
Absolutely.
77 yards, a couple of touchdowns on the ground. It was a long night for Denton Braswell, but Reedy, give him credit, taking care of business.
Yeah, man, Reedy is a good team, well-balanced offensively, and just as a team, they play really good defense and really good offense. Not many teams can say that.
Not flying under the radar anymore, guys.
I think
definitely
people
making a name for
know
themselves.
Who Frisco Reedy are.
Yeah, people are starting to figure it out. If they haven't already, they need to know about Frisco Reedy. Same thing about Denton Geyer, though. They got another big win tonight. Geyer over Keller in a district matchup that was really with some playoff implications about it. Zach, tell us about that one.
Yeah, I mean, this one coming in, I think ideally all of us looked at this and said, wow, this is one of the best games of Friday night. Denton Geyer coming in. They're playing really good football. Got back on track 2-1 in district. Then Keller, only loss in district play to South Lake Carroll, both of them. But Keller's only loss in the season was to South Lake Carroll. Offensively, you talk about Sloan Henry for Keller, Eli Stowers at quarterback for Geyer, but it was about those running backs, Enoch and Chobo for Keller and Kadrick Cobbs for Geyer. And Cobbs was the man who took this one on his back, grinded it out late in the fourth quarter. Big win for Geyer, 31-17. And guys, this one's a final. I can say I told you so on this one.
Well, you did. You said it last night, and, the same thing applies, man, with Geyer. The confidence continues to build with Stowers at quarterback, and you just see that team just getting more pumped up for a playoff run. I'm disappointed for the Keller Indians simply because they opened the game with Nchobo scoring, but Kadrick Cobbs comes right back, scores, and then they just put it on from there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously their first loss, but I look for them now to try and rebound from that loss.
And this is the season for Kadrick Cobbs right now when it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy. He's not the guy that as a defensive player you're really excited to tackle about. You're not really excited to tackle this guy. When it's cold and wet, he's the guy to give it to. When your quarterback Eli Stowers coming off a really nice game, has a poor game, you still run the ball well and get the win.
Yeah, no doubt. And for Keller next up, they got Byron Nelson, who just had their first win of the season, but that should be a game that Keller can right the ship, get back on the win column. And for Denton Geyer, you're looking at a game with Northwest Eaton on Thursday night. That's really big-time district matchup. If Titus Sweden plays for Eaton, that's a pick-em kind of game right there. Two teams that want to run the football. They both got stout defenses. That'll be a fun one on Thursday night.
One of the games that we didn't have as a pick-em game because it was a 7 o'clock start time, but it was just across the hallway at the Ford Center, Independence and Wakeland. This ended up turning into quite the football game overall as Independence fought back. Wakeland got up on top first, and the Wakeland Wolverines end up getting it done again over the Knights of Independence just across the hallway. We've got some highlights on the fan tag cam that we'll run through here in just a moment. But overall, the running game was there for Independence, but the turnovers end up costing them big.
Yeah, man, they had every chance to win this game, and they just turned the ball over way too many times. One time in the red zone, and that's just not going to be a good thing for you. So credit to Wakeland coming out there, capitalizing on the turnovers, and they looked sharp while they did it. Oh, look at there.
Oh.
Student section.
The Sousaphones.
Sousaphones.
Yeah, you were about to say tubas, weren't you?
I know, yeah.
I bet you were. Yeah, the running game was there, but there's another turnover inside the red zone. Fumbled it, picked up by Wakeland, and it was really that kind of story all night long, and then Wakeland made them pay. I don't know why, but that number 34 reminds me of somebody in that Navy jersey and the Auburn type uniforms. I'm not going to say anybody. Oh, what was it?
Is that Bo? Bo Jackson?
Bo Jackson, maybe, in the uniform?
Maybe. Is that who you're going for?
Yeah, I mean, 34, and it looks like Auburn.
Right,
why not? I mean, it's not that crazy. There's a pickoff, and that was actually – it is just Bo Jackson. No big deal. And this is Wakeland just kind of
look at that,
taking things over and figuring things out on their end. Overall, Wakeland with a big-time win, a happy crowd in hand at the Ford Center as we do move on from this matchup. Hebron, Flower Mound. Flower Mound trying to look for their first playoff berth since 2010. They had a tight matchup with Hebron. This was close earlier. We didn't get a final. This is the first time we've recorded the final, and Hebron drops it late. Flower Mound wins the ball game. Oh, my goodness. What went on here, guys?
Pierce Hutchins. Told you. I told you it was going to be late.
No big deal, Pierce Hutchins.
Pierce Hutchins. I mean, no, really, it came down to a re-touchdown, 26-yard pass from Blake Short. And Flower Mound is just a team that has week in and week out proven that they know how to win. They're going to show you how they're going to win. Look, Hebron is a team that's great as well. Trajan Bridges showed up tonight and showed out, definitely. But Flower Mound, guys, that is another team. We need to mark them, like with Reedy, that are just quietly going about their business, winning games, scoring 40 points a night. Well, not so much tonight, but they're averaging right at about 37 and playing good football.
Outstanding for Blake Short, 5 touchdowns on the night, 1 pick. And if you look at that, you know, just the statistics there, 2 turnovers for Flower Mound compared to just 1 for Hebron. They lose the turnover battle. They get outgained on the ground as well. In a rainy night, you think, all right, we're going to be -1 in the turnover battle. We're going to get outrushed by Hebron, but we're going to win the football game. And they just had an answer every single time. Big play for Hebron, here comes Flower Mound. Big play for Hebron, here comes Flower Mound. Give the Jags a lot of credit. They deserved it tonight.
Well, and if you saw the first downs, 28-15.
Yeah.
And that
statistically
just shows
lost the football game, but won it on the scoreboard.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely so. And they're looking pretty good in that district, at least as of right now. Flower Mound looks like a team that's in control of their district destiny and a team that could really kind of make some things happen. I'm trying to pull up the standings here as we take a look at it. They are atop the standings, 3-1 at home, 2-1 on the road. They're 5-2 overall, but they're 5-2. Coppell now at 5-2. Louisville at 5-2. And then you have Marcus and Hebron tied in that mix right there.
Well,
so
in Flower Mound's last 2 games, they've got Marcus next Friday, and then they're at Coppell. So 2 road games to end the year at Marcus and Coppell for Flower Mound.
So it's not over just yet, but they do have a pretty good point differential, plus 93 in that category. Just absolutely something crazy to talk about in terms of really Flower Mound trying to end that long drought of what they were able to or unable to do for the last couple of seasons. And now we've got one of the games or one of the teams that's also kind of a Cinderella story, Haltom and the Buffaloes. Let's take a look at that game really quickly as they end up with a final score 28-14. Even though Abilene tried late, scored 7 in the third, 7 in the fourth, Haltom ends up with the win. Michael Black, the quarterback, ends up with another notch under his belt. We'll take a look at some highlights, but we've also got Luke Trujillo, I believe. I'm butchering that last name, Luke. I'm sorry about it. First week on the job, and you get to go see Michael Black of the Haltom Buffaloes throw the rock around. Luke, thanks for joining us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Tell me that last name, but then also tell us about this matchup.
Well, my last name is Trujillo, but that doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It was an awesome game to see him just lead that Buffalo team. He had so much confidence in the pocket, especially on that botched snap that went back like 10 yards on their own 15-yard line. and then they just turn it into a touchdown like that. And it was really awesome to see like that Buffalo magic. I don't know what's happened to them, but I like it.
Mr. Trujillo, we like it too. Now, we have been seeing clips of this kid, Mike Black. You've gotten an opportunity to see him with your own eyes. Just following up on the question that Kyle just asked you, is this kid as electric in person as he is looking at him on the television?
Oh, definitely. His physical presence, it's not the biggest you'll ever see, but he can definitely dodge those tackles and make something out of nothing, and that's the magic right there.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. I know that Michael Black is everything for this Holtham offense, but that defense tonight, shut out in the first half, holding Abilene to just 14 total points. How about that Holtham D?
Yeah, it was really great to see that secondary was really holding their own with the 2 interceptions. They almost had a third in the second half, but one got called back for a targeting penalty. But yeah, that defense was solid the whole game. They had, a couple of drives where they gave up some easy touchdowns, but besides that, they were very consistent, and that pressure was also very present. The quarterback for Abilene was not comfortable at all, I could tell. He was always scrambling or trying to make a pass that just to make a pass work that really could not. And, that defense was very impressive.
Well, Luke, thanks again for joining us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. We're glad to have you as a part of the team for the first time. Glad you got a good game to go to. We'll see you again next week, man.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Luke Trujillo. Is that how you say it?
Trujillo.
Okay, so it's like an H in there. Okay, I'm going to write that down.
Just butchered that. We just stabbed that man's last name.
It's my bad. That's on me. I should have asked before.
His last name just bled out on there.
That's my bad. I'm going to own it.
Kill Bill style.
I'm going to own it while I have a chance.
Finish him.
Overall, Holtham with another big win. Keller, Fossil Ridge, South Lake Carroll. This game did not end up being as close as we kind of hoped it would be. The Dragons continue to roll in their undefeated season. They had some close calls earlier. This was not one of those close calls, gentlemen.
No, not tonight. I mean, look, it came down to TJ McDaniels. I mean, just shutting the door on this victory. We said it at the beginning of the show. Look, they got to start fast. They did that. Well, I say they got to start fast, but they scored 16, 17 points in the first half. They came out in the third and fourth and just poured in the pudding, guys. And they ran right off from this one. 47-26, great game. Riley Dodge is obviously at halftime making adjustments, but he knows that, look, these guys are definitely against the more upper echelon teams that they're going to be facing in the playoffs. He can't give that much room for error in the first half.
No question.
Not at all. And R.J. Mickens had a big game receiving. 9 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. So, hey, South Lake Carroll, we talked about that Fossil Ridge off defense a lot, and they can play over there. So I think what they were able to do really had their way with them through the air and on the ground. Very impressive day for that offense over at South Lake Carroll.
Yeah, that offense continues to roll. How about Melissa and Salina? We'll go look at the little guys a little bit as Melissa gets the win 28-21 over Salina. A surprising outcome, but is it really that surprising with Melissa being 4-2? On the road, maybe, but overall, that offense we saw going in had put up some pretty impressive numbers, and they continue that tonight with 461 total yards, only 2 yards over their season average.
Yeah, and both teams came in featuring outstanding running games, and you look at it for Melissa, Jabari Young, 160 yards, was held out of the end zone, but Brandon Lewis, their quarterback, did have 2 rushing touchdowns, and Logan Point did his thing for Salina. 233 yards, 3 scores. They just weren't able to make the plays through the air that Melissa ultimately was able to accomplish.
Yeah, that's exactly what really the story of that football game resulted in being. But overall, how about this game? This game's got quite the story in its own right. Parish Episcopal and Bishop Lynch. This is a game we kind of skipped earlier because we were going to have Nick Laupius on the phone. He's on the phone, but first I want to show off. This is the final drive for Bishop Lynch. At this point, Parish Episcopal is leading 27-20, and there's a 4th and long. Let's take a look at this from the fan tag cam, and final chance for Bishop Lynch to win the football game. They drop back, and instead of going just for the first down, they go for it all. Incomplete. The defense for Parish Episcopal ends up making the big stop on 4th down, and the Panthers come away with their 6th win of the season. We are now joined by Nick Laupius. Nick, thanks again for joining us as you hop off the call of this ball game. Tell us about this back-and-forth battle, really two offenses that have high-powered capabilities but just really didn't find any groove, at least up until the end.
Yeah, hey, guys. It was an interesting game. The weather was actually pretty good. It stopped raining about the first quarter. So the Panthers last week, when we called the game, it was pouring the first 3 quarters, and they couldn't get anything going through the air. And that ultimately was the reason they lost. Well, today, their pass game was a lot more successful. Preston Stone had, I believe, a 50-yard pass and then a 75-yard touchdown pass. And so the offense for the Panthers looked a lot better this week. And then for the Friars, it was really their run game. They didn't have they had one 20-yard pass, and that was it. But it was mostly the quarterback Salter and then Crawford III, their running back. They really did a whole lot of read options tonight, and that gave the Panthers a lot of fits. But at the end of the game, when you look at the end of the game, the biggest cause for the Panthers win, there was 5 unsportsmanlike penalties throughout the night for Bishop Lynch, which ended up giving the Panthers just great field position on their last drive to punch it home for that touchdown to get the 27-20 win.
Hey, Nick, this is Heckma, man. I got a question for you. So I got Walchuk over here all climbing down my throat about anointing Preston Stone. You were there. You watched him live. Tell me, man, is he the next coming of great quarterbacks here in North Texas?
I think he is. It was a 3rd down and 13 in the second quarter, and the pocket collapsed on him, and he somehow was able to kind of juke his way out of a defender and got about 20 yards on that 3rd down. So that quarterback scramble kept the drive going. They ended up scoring on that drive. And then again, he had a 50-yard pass, a 25-yard pass, and then the 75-yard touchdown pass. His running game helped him out a lot, but throughout the season, he's been phenomenal. Last game, of course, with those bad conditions, didn't really look like himself, but every other game that I've watched from him so far, I think it is safe to say that he's another one of those great quarterbacks in North Texas high school football, and he's only a sophomore.
Only a sophomore. Got a long way to go, but a big win tonight to improve to 6-1 on the season. Nick, thanks so much again for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Nick Laupius, of course, on the phone, and we're going to go straight from that game into another one. West Mesquite, McKinney North, and the Bulldogs put up 90 points last week. They turn around and they put up some more numbers again, winning this one 52-37. Gavin Dunaway, another first-time Friday Night Stars reporter on the call for that one, providing some great highlights. And Gavin, first off, thanks for joining us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Tell us about your overall thoughts of the game and how impressive was that McKinney North offense?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Let me go ahead and let you know that it was a tremendous game for the Bulldogs yet again, especially coming off of that big win last week. Overall, in the second half, the Bulldogs really stepped up their defense as well, only allowing 2 touchdowns, and one of those was on a kickoff return. I think one of the biggest takeaways from this game for the Bulldogs was the fact that their offensive line is looking very, very good these last 2 weeks. And in terms of the Wranglers, they played a very good offensive game as well. Their defense really couldn't adjust to the big playmakers for the Bulldogs like Hunter Che, Cam Constantine, and Brandon Fraser.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about Hunter Shea because he's the workhorse for them, and he had over 200 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns tonight. How impressive is he as a runner and seemingly one of the better runners in the area?
Oh, yeah, most definitely one of the better runners in the area. On one of the drives, he had, I believe it was an 80-yard touchdown. It was amazing. He was a big workhorse for them this game. Whenever their passing game was lacking at certain points, he was always the go-to guy. If Brandon Fraser, for some reason, wasn't able to get off his tackles, Hunter Che was the guy to go to.
And what about at the quarterback position coming in? We didn't know if it was going to be Dylan Markowitz or if it was going to be Cameron Constantine. Do you have any idea what they're doing with that? It looks like Markowitz got in there and threw a touchdown pass, but he only had 2 attempts on the game. It looked like Constantine got most of the run tonight, but that hasn't been the case leading into tonight. So what's up with the quarterback situation?
In terms of that, yes, that one touchdown pass did look very good, but then Constantine did come in and he played very well. From his first entrance into the game, he was playing phenomenal. He was, getting out of really bad situations, and he was making plays really well. So I think Coach left him in there as he was pushing that momentum for that offense whenever Hunter Che couldn't get that run going for them.
Gavin Dunaway from West Mesquite and McKinney North. Gavin, thanks so much for joining us. We're glad to have you as a part of the team, and we'll talk to you again next week, man.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, there he goes. McKinney North with another big win, 52-37. The final score there, putting up 90 points in 52 in back-to-back weeks. Yeah, not too shabby, right?
They're getting it going.
That's pretty good offensive output, if you ask me, for my own opinion. This was a close game earlier. Back to the 4A level really quickly before we get back up to 5A. Argyle and Paris. You looked at Argyle early on. They led this game just by a hair heading into that later part of the fourth quarter, and they were able to hold on, tacked on a field goal. Paris did end up adding a touchdown since the last time we talked about this game, but overall, Argyle with a big-time win against a district foe in Paris that looked like they had a chance to win this ball game late.
I mean, it shows how good Paris is to have 6 turnovers and still be 1 score away at the end of the game. So, but when you turn the ball 6 times, you're just not gonna, you're not gonna win a game.
No, and Paris is a team that's beaten Melissa and they've beaten Salina, the 2 teams that we talked about earlier in 4A. So they're battle tested, but Argyle just finds a way to win, especially at home. And Bo Hogaboom, pedestrian stat line through the air, just 131 yards and a touchdown, but he got it done. It was really on the ground with Tito Bice, 155 yards and 2 scores for Argyle that allowed them to kind of control things. And credit, look, and Paris ran the football as well. Zacchaeus Jackson over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. Kobe Savage tacked on another touchdown. But for Argyle, just a program. Some of them they win, and they just do it any way they can. Forcing the 6 turnovers definitely helps.
Well, another program in the North Texas area that all they do is win, and it seems like every week they do so, Highland Park. And they get another big win today over Samuel. And I would be safe to say it was dominating fashion, 49-0 in a dominant fashion over Samuel. And we've got Miles Dunklin on the phone, the voice of the Highland Park Scots football team. And Miles, first off, from Highlander Stadium, it's nice to be back home. At least not a ton of rain, not a ton of delays, but overall the rain was brought by that Highland Park offense.
Yeah, at least there wasn't a delay tonight. We're okay with the rain. We're used to that at this point. Actually, some adjustments made at Highlander Stadium. They even had a tent for some of the players to get out of the rain. But what the big storyline tonight for Highland Park was establishing that running game, a big game tonight by Benner Page. If there's been maybe one aspect of the team that hasn't been as strong as they'd like it to be, it's been that rushing attack. Another strong game by Chandler Morris, certainly in that passing game. But good to see Benner Page get going, Hunter Heath, Bennett Brown, other players like that on the ground.
Miles, Zach, with you, that defense pitching a shutout again. I mean, what was it? Was there anything at all that Samuel could try and do to pose any contest to them offensively at all?
Samuel made some plays throughout the game. They had some good athletes on the offensive side of the ball, but the Scots really showing off their depth, missing a couple key players. In that defensive core, James Lightbourne suffering a torn ACL for the 2nd consecutive season, one of their captains starting inside linebackers, and also giving some other key players some rest on defense, but showing off some juniors, some guys that are future of the program, a young man named Patrick Turner stepping in, starting at inside linebacker tonight as a sophomore, and they were still able to get the job done, led by their extremely stout defensive line, which is loaded and deep and can just gets it done every single week.
Miles, you talked about that rushing attack for Highland Park, and they were a little bit better tonight, but they've struggled for their standard throughout this season. What do you think the reason is for that? Is it a runner issue? Is it an offensive line issue? Is it just a lack of commitment from a play calling perspective? What do you think has been the reason why the offensive, the running struggles have been there, and can they get it turned around for the playoffs?
I think absolutely they can make the adjustment. If there's anything that this team has shown under the leadership of Randy Allen, is that they can make adjustments. Go back to a team like 2016 where they lost players like Kate Sostad, Scully Ginevine, also Jacob Urbanzik, Jack Kosmetsky. They lost all four of their top playmakers. They were still able to win the state championship. So they're able to adjust. They've moved players like Bennett Brown from wide receiver to running back, and they have some sleepers at that position. Look for a guy like Hunter Heath to maybe potentially have the impact that Paxton Alexander did in 2016 as a player that can really give them a spark that maybe the masses don't know about, but they have some players that can get it done, and their offensive line is really good. Their brain trust of Randy Allen and Grayson Wells have gone 20 years of getting it done in the running game. So I believe they do have the capacity to make adjustments come time for the playoffs, and they showed it tonight.
Miles Dunklin again joining us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Miles, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys.
There he goes, Miles Dunklin. Always great to hear from him. He has so much knowledge about that Highland Park football program. He loves showing that off, and he definitely is good at what he does in terms of really being a walking encyclopedia about it, and I love hearing his stories. But moving on from that, a game that we've kind of talked about all night long, alluded to, have not actually gone over here during Whataburger Friday Night Stars overtime. Grayson Nolette was on the call for Denton Geyer and Keller. This was a district matchup that we kind of previewed earlier. 5-6A implications in this ball game, and Grayson, Denton Geyer, well, they found their rhythm, and they found it quickly in this ball game.
Man, these Denton Geyer Wildcats, I have broadcasted them a couple of times so far throughout this season. They are now 4-3 overall. They're 3-1 in district. They have secured the second place spot in 5-6A after tonight. They're now behind Carroll Dragons, who I believe they're ranked number 6 at this point. They're still undefeated, so it's not a bad team to be behind. But they had control from basically their first score until the end of the game. I think that they had this Keller Indians team on their heels all night long. They had control of the clock. They had control on both sides of the ball, and their defense stepped up in a huge way, and they completely shut down that Keller Indians offense.
Grayson, Zach, with you, talk about that Geyer defense for us. Who is it that's really playing well? I mean, is it the defensive line, the linebackers? They have a playmaker in the secondary. We know about the offense and really the three-headed monster they're kind of building there with Stowers, Cobbs, and Metter on the outside. And Kadrick Cobb, again, it seemed like he was able to take over the game. You can alliterate on that a little bit later. But I really want to focus on what are you seeing from this Geyer Wildcat D that was able to slow down a red-hot Keller offense?
You know, I feel like I had been underestimating this Geyer defense just because of how well the Denton Ryan defense over in 5A has been playing, and I've been watching them, and they have been absolutely dominating. So I feel like I've been underestimating the Wildcats defense because of that. But this team, they don't really have a superstar or anything like that. There's no one guy who's truly dominating. I think tonight I can definitely say that the defensive tackle, Isaac Carrillo, he's a senior. He had 3 huge tackles for loss tonight that were all in really big situations. He was a dominant force on that front line. I'd also say the defensive end, Lawrence Norton, has also been a very consistent contributor on that front line. But I'd say the whole unit has definitely stepped up. I don't think that there's been, one area or one guy or one section. All these guys go out there and they do their job, and maybe each game, one guy might step up. Like I said, tonight it was the defensive tackle, Isaac Carrillo. But overall, this team is just learning how to play as a unit.
Grayson, how much trust do you have in quarterback Eli Stowers? Didn't have a great performance tonight. Only threw the ball 10 times and had 2 interceptions. He had a really big coming out party last week, but we know he's young. He's going to have growing pains. How much confidence do you have in him as we get near the playoffs?
Look, the sophomore Eli Stowers is a very interesting character. He's kind of a dark horse guy that nobody really knows that much about. I mean, this is still his first season stepping out into the Texas high school football plane. He's never stepped on a varsity football field before until this season, and if there's any single player out of all the teams that I have been broadcasting this season that has improved every single matchup that I've seen him, it's been Eli Stowers. That guy has gone out there, and he has made it a mission every single week to just get a little bit better. And tonight, and I think that Kadrick Cobb's returning to the field after the first couple matchups, being out with an injury, has definitely done him a lot of good. It's given him a lot of confidence, opened up a lot of options for him, both on the ground and through the air. I think when it comes to his running game, he's already really solid. He's really great with the read option with Kadrick Cobb. Both of them run it very well together. I just think he needs to continue to develop his vision in terms of passing downfield. He needs to quit taking so many risks, which I think is why he has more interceptions than he does passing touchdowns after tonight. He's now got 8 passing touchdowns on the season, 9 interceptions. I just think he needs to calm down when he's passing the football, quit taking so many shots, maybe run a couple of safer routes with his wide receivers just to get his confidence going earlier on when he's passing it. But in terms of running the football, I think he's already very proficient.
A lot of excitement around Stowers and that entire offense for Denton Guyer and for Coach Walsh in the future. Grayson Nolet, thanks again for joining us here from Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Denton Guyer and Keller Guyer with another big-time win. Grayson, we'll talk to you again next week.
Absolutely. And let me just end it with this. Something that head coach John Walsh said after the game to our sideline reporter David Patterson during his post-game interview was that he thinks that his team is really freaking good and nobody just knows it. And right now, I think that this is a team that is going to continue to get really good as the season goes on. So keep your eyes on Denton Guyer. They might get even better as the season continues.
Wouldn't doubt it even a single bit. We've got our eyes on them on our side as well. Grayson, thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Wow. I mean, that's no doubt about it. Denton Guyer turns out.
And he's not making statements like that unless he truly believes it. And he's a dude that's been there. He's won state championships. He knows when he's got a good ball club. He's feeling good about this bunch he's got this year.
And what a great compliment from Grayson about Eli Stowers, just basically saying that he's getting better every week. And that's all you want as a coach.
Especially
to be
as
able
a sophomore
It seems like
quarterback.
this football team really is, too. And they're kind of growing along with that sophomore quarterback.
Yeah, definitely so. And that's going to be an exciting team to watch come playoff time. They've got to get there first because they've got a little bit of an uphill battle, but they're doing so well so far. Another team that we've looked at as a state championship contender, Duncanville and the Panthers with another big win, 49-7 over Richardson Pierce. This game close early. However, Duncanville pulls away late. We've got Adrian Jagish on the line, who was at this Richardson-Duncanville matchup. And Adrian, is Duncanville as advertised, even though early on it was just kind of a tough game and kind of a gritty game in the rain?
Hi, guys. Yeah, so it was really interesting. I was really excited, okay, because these are two both really good teams. Duncanville, like, I tend to throw the term powerhouse team around a lot, but Duncanville is definitely a powerhouse team. Like, they were undefeated this season. And then when I sat down and started watching the game, it was kind of boring, actually. I was kind of waiting for stuff to pick up, and I will say Duncanville had pretty good strategy. They would creep down the field when they were offense, and then when they were defense, they would just tackle.
Yo, Adrian, this is Heckma, man. Listen, I got a question for you about my Duncanville Panthers. Look,
I think I claimed them.
The first half, they came out a little slow. I think we were all a little nervous about how they were going to finish this game. Talk about the second half and how they came out against J.J. Pierce.
Well, yeah.
Uh-oh.
So in the first half they were really slow, and I thought maybe Pierce was going to step up a little bit because the only touchdown they scored was 3 seconds left on the clock for the first half. And so I was like, oh, it's heating up. It's finally heating up. Like, all the action's happening. And then for the second half, I will say Tristan Smith, the running back, junior running back, he's the player to watch this season, I will say. And I remember covering him a couple weeks ago, covering Duncanville, and thinking, wow, he's a really good player. Basically, they were just tackling as much as they could, and they kept like tricking Pierce into thinking that they would pass the ball to somebody else, but then they would hold on to the ball, and then like the quarterback ran and ran a lot of touchdowns too.
Yeah, unbelievable game from Duncanville. Over 620 yards on offense. Adrian, thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you guys later. Bye.
There he goes, Adrian Jagish, and 416 yards on the ground. Oh, my gosh.
Are you kidding
It seems
me?
like every week it grows.
Duncanville's crazy.
They can run the football.
They got Jaquindon Jackson who's doing it through the air. He had almost 100 yards on the ground, a couple of touchdowns through the air, and then they're talking about Tristan Smith there, his old Adrian. He almost had 200 yards rushing. This Duncanville Panther team.
It is only right that we get Allen and Duncanville in the playoffs. I mean,
football
it has
gods
to happen.
let it
For
happen.
DFW supremacy.
Well, I tell you what, when I was talking to you about the first half and them not having a whole lot of passing yards, look, they finished the game with 211 passing yards. So they discovered a passing game.
Yeah, right.
In that fourth quarter.
This is the one area we haven't done well.
Let's work on it.
Let's go out there in the second half and let's work on it. And look, this is a good J.J. Pierce team. They came in 5-1. They've got one of their best teams since they've had in over a decade, and they just whooped up on them.
Yeah, they definitely did, and put it on them in that second half. Really impressive on the ground, in the air. Doesn't matter. Duncanville gets it done again. A team that we kind of thought had a chance to maybe compete in that 6A level early on. They suffered a setback last week. Euless Trinity. They had a game this weekend against Weatherford, a bounce-back game. It was tied early, just like Duncanville, and we've got Joshua Price on the phone from Weatherford, who was at this game. Joshua, first off, thanks for joining us here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars, and tell us a little bit about Euless Trinity, a big bounce-back game, and they were really impressive in that second half.
Yeah, they were really just great, you know. I mean, but the big part about this game is that they were just running the ball the whole time. I mean, they just gave the ball to Grandius 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they just ran through that defense like a knife through butter.
Love it, a knife through butter. And that defense on the other side for Euless Trinity, how was that defense successful against the Weatherford Kangaroos?
You know, I think it was just, they really just shut them down. And I think a lot, also the receivers just couldn't really get a hand on the ball. You know, a lot in the game, especially like I think in the third quarter, the receivers just tried to bring in the ball, but they just couldn't really get it. And I think it was just a lot of pressure from this Trinity defense.
Joshua Price on the phone from Euless Trinity in Weatherford. We're running up against the clock a little bit here, Joshua, but thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thank you for having me.
There he goes, Joshua Price. And, guys, we've got some games we've got to get to because there have been a lot of good games to talk about. But overall, another big win for Euless Trinity, kind of getting back on track after the loss last week.
Yeah, it did what we thought they would, right?
Did what we thought they would, exactly. How about Rowlett? Did they do what we thought they would against Wiley?
Not so much.
Oh, what happened there?
Yeah, definitely a blowout game versus Wiley. No one expected it, but it happened, guys. I mean, look, 42-28. Ammo, Wiley pulls out the complete upset of the Rowlett Eagles.
Yeah, big-time win for Wiley. Surprising to anybody? Maybe not so much.
I mean, knocked him off the list of the unbeatens.
Yeah,
Wiley's just
big.
playing good football right now.
And what about that Warrior spirit?
That was with Arlington Martin.
Oh, why did I think that was with Wiley?
That's okay.
Wiley's the Pirates.
Well, the 3 turnovers is huge for Wiley in a game like this. Rowlett turned the ball over that many times. That's a frustrating loss, man. You know, if you're Rowlett right now, you're kicking yourself.
Yeah, you definitely are kicking yourself because you lose this game to a crosstown rival. It's not very fun to look at. Aledo, Cleburne, another big-time win for Aledo. That one not even close overall. But Arlington, Martin. How about this final score? Arlington was down early. What happened here?
Well, they came on back and they got the dub. Jahari Rogers able to pull it out, rabbit out of the head, as Jason Witten would say, a 32-25 victory for Arlington over Martin. But Martin did keep it more competitive, I think, than a lot of people would have thought.
Yeah, who would have thunk of the cardiac Colts pulling this one out? They had to definitely, like you said, pull a rabbit out of a hat and come back and beat the Warriors. The Warriors definitely had the spirit tonight.
Thank God for forcing 4 turnovers for the Colts, and to think about that Arlington Martin defense really stepped up. Jahari Rogers only having 88 yards through the air. I know he had a little over 100 on the ground, but for a guy who we're used to seeing stuff the stat sheet, that's a good defensive effort, and a shame you have 4 turnovers, man, to lose that game.
Yeah, definitely. So Cedar Hill over Mansfield Lake Ridge. Those are highlights from the Colony. We'll talk about some of those. 42-17 was the final score. Cedar Hill over Lake Ridge. And we talked about the quarterback going out early for Mansfield Lake Ridge. And just not a fun night for the Eagles overall.
No, and Cedar Hill angry after that loss last week. And anytime for Lake Ridge you lose Rogers, you're everything. All-purpose leading passer and rusher. It's tough, but Cedar Hill did what they had to do at home.
Like you said, man, when it comes down to Lake Ridge, not as deep as some of the other programs in the city, but again, lose your best guy, team goes into a panic.
And Guy Frazier called in and told us that when Rogers went down, it was a tie ball game, and then he goes down and the game gets busted wide open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, looking at it one more time, Rockwall and North Mesquite. Rockwall with another big win over North Mesquite. This was one of our pick'em games. Did we all four pick Rockwall?
Yes, we did.
Okay, sure. Well, that was not as exciting. 44-10, the final score. Zach, let's go through those 6A scores really quickly.
Well, we know Geyer over Keller, 31-17. Coppell over Flower Mound Marcus, 24-23. Lakeview Centennial over Garland, 31-3. Naaman Forest over South Garland, 45-20. Flower Mound with the clinching win over Hebron, 38-35. Louisville, they keep on winning, 61-10 over Irving. 50-18 Irving Mack over Irving MacArthur. Allen unbeaten, 43-14. They beat Jesuit. Northwest Eaton, 31-7 over Keller Central. South Lake Carroll, 47-26 over Fossil Ridge. McKinney, back-to-back wins. They get a victory over Plano West, 17-12. 41-19 Plano upsets Plano East. We just talked about Wiley over Rowlett, Haltom over Abilene, Arlington over Arlington Martin. Sam Houston knocks off North Crowley 57-42. DeSoto shuts out Grand Prairie 48-0. Lamar over Fort Worth Paschal 59-zip. Bowie over Trimble Tech 55-6. Lake Highlands all over W.T. White 55-22. Longview comes over and smacks Rockwall Heath 48-10. Berkner 41-10 over Molina. And Skyline with a big 71-33 victory. Probably one of the upsets of the night, 45-24. SGP over Summit. And then Mansfield beats Waxahachie 55-7.
5A scores.
5A scores. Grapevine beats Carrollton Newman Smith. Colleyville Heritage 63-3 over Carrollton RL Turner. Denton Braswell falls to Frisco Reedy 40-14. Denison 56-20 over Frisco. Frisco Wakeland 35-20 over Frisco Independence. Little Elm 42-9 over Frisco Liberty. 45-20 for Lake Dallas over Frisco Memorial, and 21-14 for the Colony over Lone Star. That was a big game. Credit to the Colony offense there. West Mesquite 37-52 falls to McKinney North. Wiley East 21-61 to Mesquite Poteet, and that's your 5A rundown.
4A and other. Heckma, give us the rundown there.
Aubrey beat Crum 41-13. Melissa beat Salina 28-21. Paris lost to Argyle 35-34-26. Also, Midlothian Heritage made Athens kiss the baby tonight 68-34.
Wow.
Boyd beat Pilot Point. This is a surprise, 20-14. Crandall beat Life Waxahachie 28-7. Kemp beat Madison, yay, 28-6. And that's your 4A highlights, guys.
4A highlights. Lots of action around the entire area. Real quickly, star of the night, Eric. Caden Davis, no question about it.
Blake Short for Flower Mound.
Wow, that's a big one, too. I like that. Another big win for the Jaguars.
Stay in the course, Michael Black.
Michael Black. His Haltom Buffaloes remain undefeated overall. My star of the night, everybody involved with Whataburger Friday Night Stars, whether it's Chris Beam or Matt or Anthony or Chance or Fred Garner, anybody involved with Whataburger Friday Night Stars. For Eric Chiafalo, for Zach Wolchuk, for Heckma Harrison, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from Week 8 of Texas High School Football. Thanks for watching and God bless.